Hi guys, I'm not going to be in this video because I'm lazy and I don't feel like getting ready, but we're making this today. This is an eyeshadow palette that I made last night. Looks kind of like a Z palette sort of thing with the magnetic sheet. And let me explain some things about this. Okay, first of all, you'll notice that this particular one doesn't have a clasp closure, and it is because I had to order magnets that are high-powered little silver magnets, kind of like the ones on the Inglot palette right here. They look like that, and I'm going to link in the bottom to where you can buy those on eBay for $2 for 50 of them. And yeah, so this is what it looks like inside. The top is just like this. The thing about this is that it holds pens with no magnet better than if they had a magnet. See, this is a MAC one right here, and it's a pro pen, so it has the magnet on the back like this. And this one is just a regular eyeshadow pen that I don't even remember where I got. Let me find the silver one for you. See, it's just silver. And this is an Inglot one, and if you see these ones, like, they don't really budge that much, like they don't really move, and especially if you have a lot in here, they won't move, they don't fall out or anything. Yeah, these ones stay really well. They don't budge. This, see them how the MAC one just pops out of there because the magnets are, I don't know, they're just not liking each other. So what I would suggest, if you have MAC ones that you want to put in here and you're making your own, is to put a metal sheet in here instead of a magnet, just because they kind of push each other away with certain sides of magnets, and I'm sure you all learned that in preschool. But see, watch, let me show you, because my Inglot one will fall out. See, you shake it, see how the MAC one fell out and the other ones didn't? It's because those ones are secure in there. These ones are securely in there with the metal pans that they come in. This one, the magnet on the back of it is making it kind of looser than these ones. So I would suggest that you find at any craft store, you can find metal sheet, kind of like what they have in like the MAC palettes, because you know the MAC palettes aren't really by themselves, they're not magnetic at all, I don't think. But anyways, they sell metal sheets and your magnets will stick to them beautifully. So if you have MAC ones or ones with magnets, you can buy a metal sheet. Or if you just want one with, like, you want to just put magnets on the back of your eyeshadow, I would suggest metal sheet. But for this particular one, I'm going to make a magnetic one because I have a lot of these eyeshadows that I need a home for. So, like I said, the clasp the magnets are coming. So, I'll teach you how to put the magnets in, and I'll teach you a second way if you don't want this. Sorry guys, I'm not really liking this camera, but and I'll teach you another way of making a little bow closure in case you don't want to order the magnets or whatever. Okay, so first off, what you'll need for this is, this particular one I use duct tape just because I love duct tape and I think it makes life easier. So you don't have to use duct tape, you can use any kind of like plastic sheeting or whatever and glue it, Mod Podge it, whatever, and then seal it. But I just like the duct tape and I found this one at Walmart. So what I'm going to use is, and you can skip a step if you use duct tape. So what you need for this, for my particular one, is duct tape. Preferably you like the print. This is the leopard one I got from Walmart. Hot glue gun. This is just another one from Walmart. Glue sticks, of course. Foam board. This is like the stuff that you can buy at anywhere, Walmart, craft stores, wherever. It's like foam board. It's like in the poster board section. A sheet of magnet or metal sheet. A razor. This is a razor. Yeah. And a book that you It's more or less the size you want for your palette. Now, if you like the book, like the actual thing, you can't use a book that you want to keep the cover on. I personally don't really care because you can still read the books. I leave the binding on, and it's just, I don't really care for hardcover anyway because they bug me. So this is the book I'm going to use, and it's more or less the size I want, so that's good. Scissors, a place to cut on. See this, if I got glue or anything on this, this is glass, so I won't have a hard time taking anything off there. And also I have one of these little boards, so okay. To start off, put that right there. I have a clutteredness over here, it's making me crazy. Alright, so you put your book here. Now, you open the book and you're gonna slice it right in the little groove where the binding is. And see, some books will come off just like that, and some books you have to do the other side. And I have to do the other side on this one. See? Just slice it. And I know I seem dangerous with this thing. Everybody always tells me they're afraid for my life. See? And it makes you a nice clean edge. Well, not right there, but that's just paper. I'll get the scissors. See? You do the same to the other side. This one I pressed hard enough. See? So you have two pieces. And then you have a book that's not so pretty anymore, but you can still read it. I've never read this book, but whatever. And then we're going to make our sides even. Okay. Now we have this. We want to take our magnetic sheet or metal. I'm going to measure it to see if it's the right size, and it's not. So I'm going to cut off a little piece, and I'm just going to eyeball it. And this part doesn't have to be exactly perfect because you're not going to be able to really see the edges of the metal sheet. See, so now that fits more or less on my book. Alright. Now we'll put this aside because we don't really need it yet. It's just easier to measure it when you have just the pieces. Okay, now next, what I did not mention was that I'm also using this gray one just because this is a lot cheaper of tape. So wherever I'm going to cover the whole thing, I'm going to use this tape underneath. I'm just going to cut pieces of about 2 to 3 inches, and I'm going to cut 6 of them. Now, you're going to take your 2 book pieces, and the 2 pieces that have been cut, see, you're going to put these together like this. You're going to lay them flat on your board. Now, you want about an inch. And you're going to line them up. And if you have a board with these little measuring boxes, it's a lot easier on life. So, you want to measure them to about where you want them, and about an inch. And I know that seems like it's a big gap, but it won't later. I made the mistake of putting mine too close the first time, so. And you're just going to put 3 pieces of tape on there across the board. And make sure that you have not scooped it. See how I make sure your tape over here is still tight when you put all pieces of tape on, because if you put this piece of tape on and these ones are kind of like scrunched up, it won't be good. It just won't open right. They're all kind of even, and then you're going to put these ones on the other side. And then smush them down to each other so that they kind of get together there. Okay, so now this is basically what you should have. A little, kind of looks like a little binder kind of thing. That's what it's supposed to look like. Okay, now we're going to lay our book flat again. We are going to cut a piece of duct tape, our silver duct tape, as long as our book. Again, you don't have to use silver, you can use your cheetah, but I just prefer because the big roll of gray is less than the little roll of Cheeto. You're going to cut a piece of duct tape as long as your book. We just like our binding to be very secure, so we're going to put this like this, flip it over, and fold it like that. And we're going to do the same thing one more time. Oh, and I just dropped my duct tape. Okay. Alright, so, and fold it and flip it over. And make sure that all of your ends are down correctly. Like all the edges of the duct tape are not sticking up, because once you put, you might be able to see it a little bit if you put your other duct tape over it and they're sticking up. So see, you kind of have this. Now, next, what you do is you take your board, and you can tell where I already made one, so I have all these this little cutout thing. You're going to make 4 pieces of about a ½ an inch wide. You're going to take your foam board and your book. Don't cut your book, cut your foam board, put it on top of your cutting surface, and we're just going to use the book as a guide. And you're going to cut about a ½ an inch of the strip. And what I do is I kind of just poke holes all the way down the book so that I can know where I want to cut. And I don't need the book because I will end up cutting the book. Every time, it never fails. Okay. And then I just kind of connect the dots. And cut straight down. Do not make sure you cut with your blade straight down. Don't cut it at an angle, otherwise when you put your edge in there, the little lip that holds your eyeshadows in is going to be at an angle and it's going to look weird. Okay, so cut straight down. This takes a little bit of concentration because I've cut these wrong a million times. Okay, so now you have your inch. You're going to need to do 4 more. So we have our 4 pieces. And they look like this. Sure that they're all the way apart. Now, these 2 are kind of funky, like they're not my best cut ones, so I'm going to use those for the sides. Now, you want to measure them. And mark them with your marker. So I want it to about, I'm going to do it about right there, and I'm going to cut that piece, and I'm going to cut those 2 as long as those. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to need 2 of these that are going to fit in between them. So you are going to put this like so and put that in there, and we're going to cut it here. Okay, so now we have our 4 pieces that we measured. And we're going to cut. Easier to cut this way, like a little knife. Cut those off. Now we have 2 smaller pieces and 2 larger pieces. It's really not rocket science, you're supposed to make a rectangle out of them, so yeah. This one's a little bit off, so I'm just going to cut it down a little bit. There we go. Now, we're going to take our book, open it, and the first thing we're going to do is get a piece of our leopard tape or our decorative, whatever we're using, paper, plastic, whatever, and we're going to cover our binding. So make sure all of your edges are down nicely. There we go. So it should look like this. Now we're going to take our magnet or our metal piece and we're going to put it in our book where we want it. This particular one is self-adhesive, and I'm usually kind of wary about self-adhesive things. I just don't feel like the glue is strong enough sometimes. But this one we kind of glue the edges down over it, so it doesn't really matter. And this particular one is actually pretty sticky. We're going to take our piece, and this doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to cover it with our edges. And we're going to put it down, so it should lay like that. And we're going to rub it, or glue it, or whatever you're going to do, and it should look like this. I'm going to cover this whole thing with them because it's going to make my life a lot easier. Make sure you pull your duct tape tight. Okay, so it should look like this all the way around the leopard. We're going to cut off all the excess. Now, what we're going to do is very simple. I have these little strips like this. Well, first of all, let me tell you something that makes my life a lot easier. I have this duct tape sheet that you can buy at Walmart or wherever duct tape is sold, I'm sure, most places. I'm going to measure it to my book. And it is almost the exact, width of it. It's just like a couple millimeters off. So I'm going to take my tape again, cut it, and then cut it in half. So for the purpose of saving tape, I'm going to cut my tape in half. And put one there, and then I'm going to take the big side that I just did. I'm going to place half on this side. I'm going to cut off the excess. I'll just make my job a lot easier, so. And then pull it tight on this side. And if it goes over your magnet, it's alright because your little bar is going to cover that. So it's fine. We'll take our other piece and do pretty much the same thing. Actually, you know, then we're going to pull it tight and put it on the other side. Now we're going to do the fronts also. But for the fronts, I'm going to do a whole piece of duct tape just because I'm going to do a whole piece of duct tape. So before we do this part, before we do the edge right here, I'm going to cover this part with duct tape. Alright. So you just want to line it up like this and pull it tight. Alright, so the inside should look like this. And then right here, I'm just going to take a spare piece of tape that I've had, a little strip, and just put it over it, just so that everything looks nicer. Okay, so right now, what we should have is, it looks like this. So we have the edges covered, and the inside pretty much finished. Now all we have to do is cover this edge. And I'm going to take a full piece of duct tape and cover this. So you're just going to put it, this one you want just to put it as far, not too far in, because look and see how much I put it in there. I put it maybe 1/3 of an inch in, and then I'm going to wrap it back because I know that my duct tape sheet is not going to fit all the way. And then we just kind of smooth out our edges and cut off some excess. Okay, so this is what we should have. We have all of our edges covered and our inside covered. So this is what our inside is looking like. This is what our outside is looking like. Now, the next thing you want to do is, if you don't buy the sheet like I did, you can just cover this whole thing with duct tape. But I'm going to use my sheet. Okay. So you just peel it off with a sheet. It's just pretty much self-explanatory. You just peel it off and stick it on here like duct tape. So just make sure that it's even in the front. And then that's the only thing that sucks about these things, is that they're kind of, and pull it tight. Make sure you have no bubble. See how there's a bubble right there? Well, because pretty much I didn't pull that one tight yet, but then you just take it off. And duct tape is really good about, the thing I like about these strips though, is that they don't leave as many creases as like the edges of your duct tape will if you put each individual strip. So that's pretty much it. And then duct tape is it's really easy to work with because you can peel it off and stick it back on and it won't be really an issue. So that's what our thing looks like so far. So this is our outside. Isn't it pretty? And then this is our inside. Now the only thing we have left to do is glue our little edges in that hold our eyeshadows. Now, I'm going to take my glue gun and glue, find my edge of my book, and I have very hot glue in this. It's not very forgiving. Alright. So that's how the first one looks. See how it's a raised edge? That part's not that pretty, but all you have to do is stick down your duct tape or put a piece over it. And then we're going to do what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna glue both of my longer edge. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna glue both of my longer edges first to this, and then cut my smaller ones to fit the longer, in between the longer ones. So you want it to be, so it should look like this, like it has two little walls. See that right here, and then you need two other ones. And I'm just going to take my little guy and make a little slice, and you want to do it a little bit more than what you need, just because if it fits nice and snugly in there, it's better. Okay, so see, this fits nice, and you have to kind of push it, but it looks, bam. Okay, so now we're going to put our glue on it. And make sure you meet up the edges of yours. See how like it looks like a square? Make sure you meet up the edges, otherwise it just looks better if you do. Now we're going to take our other side and do the same thing. Use the scissors for this easier. Then make sure that it fits nice and snug in there. And so this is what we have. Our finished product. Well, almost finished. Looks like this. And there's the inside. Now, the thing is that I don't have the magnets yet, so I'm not going to put them on for you. I'll probably make another video making another one of these in the future when I have all of the stuff and whatnot. But all you have to do is really just like carve a little hole where your magnet's going to go on both ends and glue them in, and then that's it. You can even put like a little clear piece of plastic tape over it just to make sure the magnet doesn't come out, but you don't really need to. Yeah, and another way you can do it is if you have a piece, you could attach a piece of ribbon coming out this way and coming out the bottom this way, and you can even cover it with a piece of duct tape or your paper, and then you can tie it in a little bow. I'm too lazy to tie a bow every time, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to wait for my magnets. Yeah. This is just a bow that I made out of fabric. If you guys really want to see how to make the bow, I'll probably do another little tutorial on that, but it's the same bow I have on my purses and stuff. So yeah, that's how that looks, and I really like these. And once the magnets are in, they'll be perfect. I'll probably, my next tutorial that I make will make one with magnets and then with the tin. Okay, all in all, it's probably easier to make one out of metal sheeting, just because you know that all the magnets will stick to the metal sheeting you put in, as opposed to this one where you need a certain type of pan for them to stick, because like aluminum pans will not stick to magnets. So that's just a word, just some advice to think about what you need before you make your palettes. So yeah, hope you guys like it. Thanks for watching.